Hey, if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume you already have a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of information on this Honda problem. 1.5 liter oil dilution situation. And if you're getting ready to turn this off because that sounds like not a big deal, I would encourage you to hang out here and listen to what I have to say. I would also encourage you to do your research. So this is just one guy's account. There's lots of things to read out there. Forums from individuals like me, even publications. I've got a few of them here as I was reading and printing them off, describing the problem, describing the situation. There's other YouTube channels, one of which is Honda trying to explain that this is a normal condition, which is really laughable. And you'll understand why I say that in the end. So, what is the issue? Fuel is leaking somehow in this engine into the engine oil. Not in little amounts. Okay, some of that has happened for years, happens with vehicles, happens with direct injection engines. There is a certain amount that's okay, that's acceptable. This is way beyond anything like that, at least in my experience and a lot of other people's experiences. But I encourage you to do your research. So, what happens? Why is this a big deal? Well, engine oil comes in the quarts, comes in the container. It is designed from the factory to adequately lubricate and clean the inside of your engine. And when you get to a drain interval, oil change time, you drain it out, takes the nasty stuff out, you put the new stuff in, and it's supposed to last a certain amount of time. So what's happening is that oil's getting in there, the fuel's getting in there, and the oil's losing viscosity. That's one of the issues. So as viscosity goes down, and bear in mind, this is I would consider kind of a small high-performance engine. It's for the power that it puts out, turbocharged, and the small size of the engine, it can generate some heat and some power. And so that's why it's important to have good oil viscosity. Well, as that goes down, you're going to get accelerated wear on, let's just say, rod bearings, on a variety of parts in the valve train and other areas of the engine. It's, like I said, it's already a 0W20 oil. I think I said that. If I didn't, it's 0W20 oil. It thins down fast to like nothing. So the more fuel you get in there, the worse it gets. These direct injection engines, it's also important to have an oil with a good detergent quality. And as gasoline gets into the oil, it impacts the oil's ability to clean the inside of your engine. So there's other situations, there's other things that are involved with this too. But that's just some of it. It's a big deal. If you look to keep this car for a long time, it's not going to be something that you want to have. It's not the way it's supposed to be. So let me describe my situation to you. Get the vehicle brand new. First oil change. I just happened to pull the stick out after we drove to Colorado. We drove around. We live in Missouri. And drove 3,000 miles. Get home, pull the dipstick. It's an inch high. That's weird. Didn't check it when we bought it. Bad owner, I'll admit. So we take it in, and they change the oil, and we pay for it. They said, you got to pay for it. This was probably an overfill. They probably thought this was the larger four-cylinder engine that they have in the CRVs, which requires about a quart more. So we'll correct it. They corrected it. I checked it right on the top line. All right, everything's good. Second oil change, 6,000 miles I get in, pull the dipstick out. You know, I still really don't think there's much of a problem. Pull the dipstick out. It's an inch high again. An inch high. And I confirmed it was right this time. So I take it in. They change the engine oil. Third oil change. How many miles was that one? 6,000 miles on that one. And it was about an inch high that time. Again, fourth oil change. 1,000 miles, half an inch high. All right, so taking you through what I'm seeing. Honda's response was interesting. So in the beginning, I was overfilled. Mind you, at that time, I didn't know what was going on around the world with their issues and their problems. Now I do. So if you, and again, you've probably done your research real quickly. There were major issues in China to the point that I believe, if I read correctly, they had to stop sales at least for some amount of time, because their fix isn't adequate. Canada, major issues. Product enhancements, recalls, whatever you want to call it. They're given some extended warranties on certain parts, and they did this to everybody in Canada. Well, the United States has been a little bit slower to adopt, but there are a handful of states in the northern climates where it's colder that got this product enhancement first. All right, so as I'm learning that's what's going on, I'm starting to become concerned. And Honda's response initially was, there's no problem here, which with hindsight, that irritates me, because there was a major problem, and they're trying to gloss it over. And you got to pay for your own oil changes. I'm sorry this has happened, but this is on you. Honda told me that directly as well, the dealership and Honda. I had a case open. Nope, you got to pay for it. It's your responsibility. Two, in the middle, where things were better. Yes, there's a problem. Yes, we're looking for a solution to fix it. Yes, we will pay for your oil changes. So they start paying for my oil changes. They actually gave me a gift card for the oil changes that I paid for, which I appreciate. So at this point, I appreciated that. I'm thinking, hey, they're taking care of this problem. All right, I'm starting to feel better. All right, but towards the end, things started to change. All right. Along the way, just for a little scientific information for you, I did an oil analysis, which I had the dealership capture the oil sample. I sent it off to a place called Oil Analyzers, and they analyzed it. And here's what I got. I'm looking at the report right here. They have a 4-point rating scale, 0 to 4. 1 is normal, 2 to 3 is slightly abnormal, 4 is critical. That's where this was at. Now, this was done after 6,000 miles. The oil life meter on the dash said 50% engine oil life left. So this vehicle was originally designed to go 10 to 12,000 mile oil change intervals. I don't know if they're still claiming that or not, but that's what it was supposed to do. So 4, critical. Comments. Check for source of fuel leak, period. Check for source of, that's how bad it is. This isn't a little bit of fuel. This is a lot of fuel. Fuel is at a severe level. I'm reading straight off here. Fuel dilution may be caused by component faults related to injectors, timing, ignition, excessive blow-by, along with some other things. Fuel dilution percentage. This is kind of the key. The highest they report is 5%, or greater is what it says. As the greater than sign and 5. It was over 5%. That's all we know. Now, if I'm calculating about an inch on the dipstick, that's about a quart of oil, give or take. And in this engine, that may be 20% of the liquid in the engine, of the fluid in the engine. So it could be at 10, 15. I suspect it was more like 20% after 6,000 miles. Imagine the reduced ability of the engine oil to lubricate components over time, like the turbo and other internal parts. They recommended checking at half the interval. And that was just a check. That's not them saying that's going to be good enough. They're just saying, recheck at 3,000. So now I've got a vehicle that's going to need the oil changed every 3,000 miles is what I'm thinking. Turns out it's probably even more than that. Okay, so that was the analysis. I wrote a letter to Honda asking them to help. You got to do something about this. And they said, all right, we'll do a final repair attempt. Or I guess that's what it's called, a final repair attempt. We're going to try to fix it. So they're going to do the product enhancement that they're doing in the few northern states. By the way, I do want to say, one of the excuses is, it's cold weather only. Guys, this is happening in Texas, in Florida, in Arkansas, in Missouri, where I'm at. And I will say, yes, the oil level rose faster when it was cold in the winter. We have fairly cold winters here. But the summers are hot too, 90 plus 100 degrees. We have a major swing in temperatures here. And it did it in the summer too, maybe about at half the rate, but still significant and way out of proportion to what's acceptable by industry standards. So we took it in. They made an appointment. They're going to do the product enhancement. Sweet, we're going to get it fixed. It's fixed. They replaced a variety of parts in this in this deal. Spark plugs, fuel injectors, fuel joint pipe set, CPU assembly, the drain washer. I'll bet that probably was hopefully going to fix it. New oil, variety of things, cleared codes. I think there was maybe a reflash of the computer. So I'm like, all right, hopefully this is good. I start reading. After I did that, I read online, there are still people having the issue after that. So I'm starting to get concerned again. But here's the interesting part. I drive 1,200 miles with the car. Rose a half an inch after this product enhancement in the winter, but it didn't change anything with the oil dilution problem. Some are saying these cars seem to warm up real slow and the heat doesn't work good for a long time. Some are saying that really the product enhancements to fix that. I don't know. But what I do know is it did nothing to help our problem. Absolutely nothing. And here's Honda's take on this. This was the last time I had it in. Here's Honda's take on this. The vehicle doesn't manifest performance-related or drivability concerns. Operating without any mechanical issues, and this is the best one. It's operating as designed. Best one. Operating as designed. No drivability concerns. Well, some people, the oil level gets so high that it throws a code or it stalls. I'm a responsible owner for the most part, so I'm changing my oil early. I see this immediately in the first oil change during the factory fill, and I start getting it done sooner. Had I not done that and it stalled in an intersection, is that a safety related issue? So I'm not sure why the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has not forced Honda to do a recall on this, because there are safety components to this, in my opinion. But for us, maybe not, because we got the oil change frequently enough. But I really find it offensive that a company would say that it's operating as designed. That is a cheapskate way out, and it's the way they're just trying to handle it. They're trying to sail these people down the road, get them out of the warranty period, and move on. That's what it seems like to me. I can't think of another explanation as to why they wouldn't work with their customers and take care of this major problem. So to the best of my calculation, and this is kind of the slam dunk of the whole thing right here. To my calculation, an industry standard, and this is not my calculation, by the way, an industry standard for oil dilution is 2.4%. Okay, we just talked about mine was over 5%. 2.4%. Once that happens, it's an industry standard that pretty much you read around, you'll see, should never go over that. The engine oil, even good engine oils, have lost their ability to protect the engine adequately. To the best of my calculation, with the oil analysis, with watching how much it rises on the dipstick, our Honda was surpassing 2.4% before it hits 1,000 miles. And it may be closer to 500. Absolutely insane. But it's operating as designed, according to Honda. Sorry, it's operating as designed. But at one point, you were paying for my oil changes and admitting there was a problem. You replaced parts, admitting there was a problem. But now it's operating as designed. Really confusing and offensive to me, to be honest with you. Now, the only thing I can think of is two things. One, that this is a major component issue, such as the bores. I guess the better way to say that would be a quality control problem. The components are not being manufactured to spec, or they're not being manufactured properly. Because there are some people who say this has not happened to them. There are. And there's a ton of people also who say it is happening to them. So why is that? To me, that doesn't make sense to be a software issue, because the software should be the same in most of these vehicles. So I'm thinking it's got to be, is it a piston ring issue? Is it a cylinder issue? Is it a bore issue? Is it a piston issue? I think it may be something like that. And either it's too expensive and it would be too difficult to replace the pistons in every CR-V and Civic with this engine, so it's operating as designed. Or do they not know? Do they legitimately not know? When I talk to people at Honda, at the dealership, regional representatives, it came off to me like they legitimately did not know what the problem was, because they would say, oh, it's the cold climate. It's short trips. By the way, we drive at 20 miles one way. It warms up. All the stuff they said, oh, it may be that. It's not that. It's just not. So what is it? I don't know. But the reason I'm doing this is, I'm not saying don't go buy a Honda. I don't mean to disparage Honda. I understand vehicles are going to have problems. When you're getting pushed to meet EPA requirements, you're getting pushed to still create a vehicle that's enjoyable to drive, that people want to buy, you're going to have to push the envelope. And that's what people have been doing. That's what manufacturers have been doing. And when you do that, you're going to have issues sometimes. So I understand that. Things happen. It's mechanical. It's the response. You stand behind your product. When you have something that's so obviously wrong, so something that's so obviously messed up, you do something about it. You fix the problem. Okay? That's the main thing. Don't just all of a sudden say it's not a problem. Work with the customer, fix the vehicle, get it operating the way it's intended to. And so my feeling, my experience is there's no integrity at Honda right now, from my experience. Okay? You might have a different experience. And if you do, that's great. My dealership was great. The service department at the Honda dealership I go to, best service I've ever had at a dealership, truly. But Honda, standing behind their product. If you have a problem with your Honda, good luck. Unless it's something easy, I'm sure they're gonna take care of you there. So take this with a grain of salt. It's just one person's experience. Consider it as you are shopping or figuring out how to handle your vehicle. We were left with no choice. Okay, I'm not inherently rich. I don't have legal experience. We're busy. We have a family. We have a kid. I don't have time to have this big legal fight. We traded it off. We couldn't deal with it anymore. We couldn't get Honda to do what they needed to do. They finally left us with its operating as designed. So we traded it off. And guess what? We bought a vehicle with a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine. And when I pull the dipstick out, guess what? It's staying on the full mark. It doesn't smell like gas. It's direct injection turbo too. So whatever, if that's the way the Honda's supposed to design, if that's the way it's supposed to run, I want nothing to do with it or Honda anymore. So take this, do your research, decide whatever you need to decide in your situation. I'm just wanting to share what happened to me because we need to hear stories like this. I wish I would have seen something like this before we bought our Honda and lost thousands of dollars in the process of trading it off. And it's a bad situation all the way around. All right, good luck out there, guys.